Switzerland is a country nestled among the majestic mountains of Europe. It is a small nation, with most people speaking German right at the heart of the continent. But here's the amazing part. While the storm of World War II raged all around, Switzerland managed to stay untouched by the chaos. Imagine the surprise. Even Adolf Hitler, the powerful leader of Nazi Germany, couldn't help but express his frustration. He called the Swiss disgusting and miserable, and said they were the quote-unquote moral enemies of his new order. Despite Hitler's desire to conquer everything in his path, Switzerland somehow slipped through his fingers. Now consider this. While countries like France and Poland were being taken over by the Nazis, Switzerland stood strong. It was like a little island of peace surrounded by a sea of conflict. But here's the big question. Why didn't Hitler go after Switzerland? Was it because of their military, their politics, or something else entirely? Stay tuned, because we're about to unravel the mystery and discover the fascinating reasons behind Switzerland's incredible journey through World War II. Switzerland, a charming country nestled in the heart of Europe, boasts a rich tapestry of languages and cultures. With 4 official languages, Italian, French, German, and Romansh, it has a history woven with diversity. This very diversity, however, made Switzerland a coveted prize for various conquerors and dictators throughout its past. The allure of its strategically positioned lands drew the attention of power-hungry leaders, especially during the tempestuous era of World War II. During this time, 2 formidable figures, Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini, cast their eyes on Switzerland's linguistic divisions. Hitler's disdain for the Swiss was palpable in his words, quote, "Switzerland has the most disgusting and miserable people and political system. The Swiss are the moral enemies of the new Germany." Despite such animosity, Switzerland managed to retain its sovereignty in the face of Hitler's ambitions. The intriguing question lingers. Why was Switzerland able to maintain its neutrality during some of the most turbulent times in history? Let's dig into the story and break it down. Switzerland's commitment to neutrality is rooted in international law, established during the Napoleonic Wars in 1815. The Treaty of Paris and the Congress of Vienna declared Switzerland as quote-unquote permanently neutral, positioning it as a buffer zone between the warring powers of France and the Austrian Empire. This concept of neutrality was similar to the promise of Belgian neutrality later on, which aimed to create a buffer between France and Germany. However, Belgium's neutrality was compromised in both world wars, raising the question of how Switzerland managed to maintain its neutrality. The Swiss' ability to uphold their neutrality is bolstered by their robust defensive capabilities. One of the standout features is their mandatory professional army system. Every male between the ages of 20 and 48 is required to undergo military training for at least 3 months and keep government-issued military equipment at home. When World War II erupted in September of 1939, the Swiss extended the retirement age to 60, prolonged training to 4 months, and mobilized around 400,000 men, approximately 10% of the total population. About 1/5 of these troops were stationed along the country's borders, while the rest were held in reserve to reinforce defensive lines when needed. However, Switzerland faced a critical challenge after the fall of France in 1940. They found themselves completely surrounded by Nazi Germany, an openly expansionist power. Germany's ambitions extended to incorporating the German-speaking Swiss citizens into their Reich. This precarious situation led the Swiss to realize that their existing defensive strategy was ill-suited against modern blitzkrieg tactics employed by the Germans, which could swiftly breach weak points in their defense lines. Initially, some Swiss leaders leaned towards appeasement. Federal Councilor Marcel Pilet-Golaz, head of Foreign Affairs, made a controversial radio address on June 25th, announcing partial demobilization and suggesting a willingness to cooperate with the new European order. This message drew unfavorable comparisons to the rhetoric emerging from Vichy France, and caused widespread concern and confusion among the Swiss populace. To counter this demoralizing sentiment and rally the nation, General Henri Guisan, the commander-in-chief of the Swiss army, took a bold step. He led his entire senior officer corps, comprising around 500 men, on a symbolic journey across Lake Lucerne to the historic Rütli Meadow. This meadow was believed to be where the old Swiss Confederacy was founded during the Middle Ages. There, Guisan delivered a resounding call for resistance against invasion and defeatism, igniting a renewed spirit of patriotism among the gathered troops. This sentiment quickly spread throughout the country, inspiring a collective determination to protect Switzerland's sovereignty and maintain its neutrality. On that serene meadow, Guisan, flanked by his senior officers, unveils a strategy that would not only become synonymous with Switzerland's determination to maintain its neutrality, but would also shape the course of its involvement during World War II. This strategy, known as the National Redoubt, or Schweizer Redoute, was a masterstroke of defense, forged against the backdrop of a rapidly changing and tumultuous world. Amidst the picturesque landscape near Lake Lucerne, General Guisan meticulously laid out the core tenets of the National Redoubt. It was a plan deeply rooted in realism and strategic thinking, reflecting Switzerland's acknowledgement of its geographical vulnerability. The National Redoubt's foundational principle was to make any potential invasion so challenging, so arduous, and so costly that it would act as a formidable deterrent against any aggressor, particularly Nazi Germany. The crux of the strategy revolved around leveraging Switzerland's natural defense, the formidable Alps. General Guisan recognized the advantage these towering mountains offered, and thus, the heart of the plan was the retreat of Swiss forces into the Alpine regions. Here, a network of strategically fortified positions, bunkers, tunnels, and impregnable fortresses would become the last line of defense against any incursion. The defensive strategy anticipated a range of scenarios, including airborne assaults. Learning from the German success at Eben-Emael in Belgium, the Swiss fortified their positions against such threats. Anti-aircraft emplacements were strategically positioned along the mountain slopes, ready to unleash a barrage of fire against any airborne intruders. However, the National Redoubt was not just about military tactics. It was about a holistic approach to safeguarding Swiss sovereignty. In the lowlands, where the mountain defenses might not be as applicable, civilian militias and border guards were poised to engage in guerrilla warfare. This unconventional strategy aimed to disrupt supply lines, communication, and the morale of invading forces. Importantly, the strategy emphasized civilian safety within the redoubt. To prevent civilians from inadvertently hindering military operations, access to the fortified zones was booby-trapped. It was a stark reminder that this was not just a military strategy, but a comprehensive plan that considered the well-being of the entire population. The Swiss leadership also demonstrated a willingness to sacrifice infrastructure. Bridges, tunnels, and vital transportation routes could be destroyed to slow down enemy advances, further illustrating Switzerland's commitment to defending its territory. The National Redoubt was more than a plan. It was a symbol of Switzerland's resolve to maintain its neutrality in the face of a rapidly changing world order. While the specter of Hitler's designs on Switzerland loomed, the implementation of this strategic defense plan, coupled with the readiness of Swiss forces, acted as a strong deterrent. It showcased Switzerland's ability to adapt, innovate, and assert its independence in a tumultuous era. In the midst of the turbulent World War II era, Switzerland found itself at a critical crossroads. Captain Otto Wilhelm von Menges played a pivotal role by drafting the initial plans for a potential invasion of Switzerland, an operation that would undergo a series of revisions until October of 1940, ultimately becoming known as Operation Tannenbaum. This audacious plan envisioned a swift and forceful invasion led by armored units and air forces, with the goal of outmaneuvering Swiss defenses and capturing crucial terrain before Swiss forces could retreat into their mountainous strongholds. Intriguingly, one of the tactics proposed within Operation Tannenbaum involved a strategic feint, an infantry maneuver intended to lure Swiss forces out into more open areas, where they would be at a disadvantage. With the completion of the plan, German troops amassed along the Swiss border, ready to act upon Hitler's order to invade. However, the order never came. The reasons behind Hitler's decision remain shrouded in mystery. It's conceivable that the Swiss defensive capabilities proved daunting enough to deter an invasion. Alternatively, the Nazi leadership might have calculated that invading Switzerland offered little strategic advantage compared to maintaining Switzerland's role as a neutral conduit for international access and services. Amid this intricate geopolitical backdrop, Switzerland's role in the global financial system became pivotal. The country's infamous and secretive financial services were leveraged during the war. Notably, Switzerland became a conduit for looted gold and assets, including those stolen by Nazi Germany from occupied countries. The Swiss financial system facilitated the flow of vast amounts of gold, with the Reichsbank sending a significant portion of its gold shipments through Switzerland, including deposits in Swiss banks. While Switzerland also engaged in trade with Allied countries, the key distinction lies in the origins of the assets. Allied gold was obtained legally, whereas Nazi gold was acquired through questionable means. The complex involvement of Swiss companies in various transactions during the war adds a layer of ethical complexity. Swiss industries and banks inadvertently became intertwined with the crimes of the Nazi regime. While Switzerland maintained trade relationships with both sides, Swiss companies were found to purchase formerly Jewish-owned businesses at reduced prices after they had been confiscated by the Nazi regime. Additionally, Swiss financial institutions extended loans to firms involved in morally reprehensible activities, such as the use of slave labor from concentration camps. Amidst this tumultuous period, Switzerland was not immune to the impact of the war. Despite its neutrality, Swiss airspace experienced numerous violations from both Allied and Axis planes, leading to engagements by the Swiss Air Force. Swiss pilots confronted these incursions, even if it meant risking their lives. The consequences of this strife were felt on Swiss soil, as cities like Schaffhausen bore the brunt of accidental bombings, resulting in civilian casualties. Recently, Switzerland's reputation as a neutral and safe place during World War II has taken a hit due to major revelations about its actions at that time. While Switzerland was often seen as a haven from the chaos and destruction of the war, it turns out that the country had a more complex role to play. The story begins with an investigation into dormant bank accounts that belonged to Holocaust victims. However, this inquiry quickly expanded to uncover a broader pattern of financial dealings between Switzerland and Nazi Germany. This has shed light on a side of Swiss quote-unquote neutrality that many were unaware of. One of the most shocking revelations is that Switzerland served as a repository for capital and valuables taken from those who suffered under Nazi persecution. This included Jewish capital smuggled out of Germany and other threatened states, as well as vast quantities of gold and valuables plundered from Jews and others all across Europe. In essence, Switzerland became a place where stolen assets were hidden away. As the war raged on, Switzerland played a role in laundering hundreds of millions of dollars in stolen assets, including gold that had been taken from the central banks of European countries occupied by Germany. This was a deeply troubling aspect of Switzerland's wartime actions, as it contributed to the movement and concealment of ill-gotten gains. Even after the war ended, Switzerland resisted calls from the Allies to return these stolen funds. In 1946, the Washington Agreement was reached, with the Allies settling for just 12% of the looted gold. This left many Holocaust survivors and the heirs of victims struggling to reclaim their rightful assets, facing bureaucratic hurdles and a lack of cooperation. Furthermore, recent revelations have shown that not only Switzerland, but also countries like the United States and the United Kingdom held on to looted gold that was recovered from Germany. This has prompted discussions and suggestions that this gold should be used to benefit Holocaust survivors and their families. The mounting international pressure led to efforts to bring transparency and accountability to Switzerland's wartime actions. U.S. Senator Alphonse D'Amato took a lead role in pushing for Switzerland to make amends and return stolen property. In response, the Swiss Bankers Association, in collaboration with the World Jewish Congress and the World Jewish Restitution Organization, established the Independent Committee of Eminent Persons. This committee aimed to conduct a thorough and transparent audit to identify and recover dormant accounts, acknowledging the need to address this dark chapter of history. Additionally, both Switzerland and the United States established special committees to investigate the fate of plundered Jewish and other property that had been kept hidden in Switzerland during the war. These efforts signify a commitment to confronting the past and making reparations, as well as ensuring that such atrocities are never repeated. In conclusion, Switzerland's reputation as a neutral haven has been challenged by revelations of its wartime financial dealings with Nazi Germany. The discovery of hidden accounts, stolen assets, and questionable actions sheds light on a different side of Switzerland's history during World War II. The subsequent efforts to investigate and address these issues demonstrate the importance of acknowledging and rectifying past wrongs to build a more just and equitable future. Now we would like to hear from you. What do you think about Switzerland's intricate dance of neutrality? Is their approach a practical solution for navigating a world rife with conflict, or does it raise ethical dilemmas? Please share your insights and thoughts in the comments down below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel to stay updated on more compelling episodes of military history. Together, let's continue to learn.